we're okay. Tuko tu sawa. Mkiongezewa taxes, mko tu, how else, how much more can you screw him? Can you screw me? And I feel like that's a problem. I feel like we need a robust civil education and an instilling of people their patriotic pride. I feel like we're not proud of us. Are we? Are we really proud of the choices we've made? Are we?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
When we look at the choice we made, do we look back and we're like, because every day it's a new thing. Every day.
I don't think any two Kenyans can meet, talk about the country, and fail to lament about other Kenyans in action when it comes to standing up for themselves against the political elite. Someone will definitely say, ukipigania wa Kenya, utajipata peke yako. And Kenyans never protest. I feel like these sentiments about Kenyans, not so much as speaking up, have worsened since the election of he who I don't care to name. I've had people say, wacha kiwarambe. They voted for him, let them suffer the consequences. Until next time, they don't do something so stupid. A sentiment that's usually closely followed by Kenyans never learn. These things being said as the cost of living continues to approach the stratosphere and we daily get word about Kenyans rationing food and having only 1 meal a day. I understand the frustration exposed in the statements, but what truly gets me is the casual cruelty nested right alongside it. How do you hear about people eating 1 meal per day and say, Kwanza let it get worse, see they voted for him? This disdain, usually of low-income Kenyans, dripping in those sentiments. After all, for the most part, the people who are allegedly deceived with wheelbarrow stories are believed to be the low-income uneducated masses. Let's talk about this idea that Kenyans wako tu sawa, they don't protest. First of all, that's gaslighting Kenyans. Kenyans don't protest. What was that people did with Raila on the streets? I get we are all not impressed because they were called out, organized by a politician. Still, did those protesters not risk their lives protesting the high cost of living? Some were brutally murdered by police, by our present rulers really. I remember those 2 boys in Kisumu who were shot by police in their house on suspicion that they had been in the protests. Their family continues to insist they hadn't been at the protests. When we say Kenyans don't protest, what the hell are we saying? Are these not people? Were they not people? Whether or not they were organized by a politician, when they spoke, they articulated their issues, why they were on the streets. Scores of them talked about the high cost of living. Why do we refuse to believe them? Because they look like low-income Kenyans and many come from slums and poor neighborhoods? Why do we imagine Kenyans need civic education like they're somewhat dumb? Enough of our countrymen understand the issues they're facing and the government policies that are making them worse. Our people are not stupid. That's the first thing we have to dispense with. Of course they're stupid ones, but no more than in any other nation. We're not special. I once read that during the civil rights protest era in the US, the perceived leaders took their cue from the people. They didn't teach the people their ethos and politics. They reflected the ethos, ideology, and politics of the people and amplified it. All they did was articulate it and amplify it to America and the world. Here's the quote. Rather than the resulting action of following orders from on high, however, social movements were usually organized through direct democratic mass meetings, enabling the grassroots to keep or wrench power from the big-name leaders. Those national leaders generally brought more media attention and fundraising opportunities than actual organizational strength. The majority of movement work was done by local people, joined in struggle and facilitated by young, idealistic student activists and experienced black women organizers like Septima Clark, Ella Baker, and Joanne Robinson. The leaders did not invent the rhetoric, ideology, and tactics of black power, but merely gave effective expression to them, as police and government commissions consistently discovered when they tried to find the instigators and conspirators behind urban uprisings. Ordinary people, the masses, are not stupid. Our people are not stupid. They're beaten down and exhausted and running on empty because of the daily struggle to keep their heads above water. States specialize in beating their people up, exhausting them, and keeping them down so they have no energy, much less time to protest or even think of it. Let's take the analogy of a woman in an abusive relationship. Women in abusive relationships are often beaten down, so mentally and physically battered that they can no longer stand up for themselves, let alone make plans to escape. They're often so totally stripped down and terrorized that they don't even entertain the thought of escaping. Death seems like the only thing that will get them out. They stay and we look at them from the outside wondering, why won't she just leave? That is Kenyans. We have been so terrorized and brutalized by the state that it's taking all we have just to stay alive and keep going day to day without losing our goddamn minds. Our focus should be on finding out what it will take to get each of us to a place where we can begin to plan our escape. An abused woman may call a hotline and speak to someone who tells them it's not their fault. The problem is the abuser. That she's not stupid, that far too many women find themselves in just such situations, that they help women like you every day and that they can help you. Together, you can make a plan. What's our abuse phone line? Where we can call for help and find out that we're not alone. Where we can begin to craft plans together to escape our abusive relationship. How do we begin to combat the horrors that government has visited on us and begin fighting back? Organizing. Everywhere in the world, the solution is organizing. This is not a problem that is unique to Kenyans. And even if it was, the solution is to find the collective cause and make a plan, not further beat down the abused woman for not leaving her husband. My God, we have to start being kind to each other. We are all we got. The elite, the political class, and our many rulers, domestic and foreign, are our enemies, not each other. I hear people say, they brought this on themselves. That's who they choose. Let them suffer. And I just...
Mulibanja sana mtaki uhuru. Saime bamba sana wapi nduru. Yeah, hatuendi maandamano. Baba, into maintain kanyo. Mr. President ongeza miaka 5. Na nyiwa Kenya lazima mkuwe na msimamo.
What is it that we want? The removal of an oppressive government or the suffering of our fellow countrymen? That is not how we build solidarity. Also, if you don't care about adults, think about the children. That's who suffers the most. Njeri says we need to be or become patriotic and wonders if we are proud of what we have done, what we have become.
I feel like we need a robust civil education and an instilling of people their patriotic pride. I feel like we're not proud of us. Are we? Are we really proud of the choices we've made? Are we?
I don't think so.
When we look at the choice we made, do we look back and we're like, because every day it's a new thing. Every day.
First of all, patriotism is a useless concept that doesn't serve poor people and workers. It's not about being or becoming patriotic. If anything, it's the reverse. It's beginning to see how our struggles are connected to those of other working people everywhere, especially those laboring under the yoke of imperialism and white supremacy. Our solidarity is with workers and all oppressed people. We have no forced solidarity on the basis of arbitrary borders. Patriotism means nothing to workers. We cannot be in any kind of solidarity with the elite, our rulers, and the state simply because of the borders we find ourselves in. No. Second, when people talk about Kenyans, whether or not we are proud of the country and what it's becoming, I'm left wondering. The views of Kenyans are not factored into the running of the state and the decisions made. Noam Chomsky talks about how in the US the policy decisions made reflect the views of the corporations and their lobbyists, not the American people. Consistently, regardless of which party is in power, the policy decisions have nothing to do with what American people want and everything to do with what corporations and the elite want. Here's a quote from Chomsky. In the US, a study that's essentially the gold standard found that for roughly 70% of the population, the lower 70% on the wealth or income scale have no influence on policy whatsoever. They're effectively disenfranchised. As you move up the wealth or income ladder, you get a little bit more influence on policy. When you get to the top, which is maybe a tenth of 1%, people essentially get what they want. That is, they determine policy. So the proper term for that is not democracy. It's plutocracy. This is the same thing with Kenyans. The policy decisions implemented do not reflect the wishes and desires of Kenyans. From the subsidizing of production, not consumption, to the gutting of parastatals, to stealing sprees like the housing levy and ever skyrocketing taxes, none of them reflect the wishes of Kenyans. Yet here we are. How then can you ask Kenyans if they're proud of their country? What country? It's like asking a student if they're proud of the assignment submitted by a random student in another class. How? I had nothing to do with any of it. Even worse, Kenyans registered their protest and continue to do so through Kenyans of Goodwill who file cases to stop these illegal acts. Then there are the Kenyans who protest on the streets. Few as we think they are. Then there are all those people who talk to pollsters and news types and let them know that they're in total opposition to the position the government is taking. Does the government care even a little bit? No. They know Kenyans don't want those things, and they pass them anyway. Then jail protesters so that those watching from home weigh the cost of being locked up in our inhumane jails and decide to just complain to their friends and not go to the streets. The decisions Kenyans make not to go to the streets are not made in a vacuum. Kenyans have seen what happens to people when the state decides to waste them, literally and figuratively. Of course, they're afraid, whether or not they're willing to admit it. These are the things we need to be focusing on dealing with, not kicking our fellow countrymen when they're down. If people are not coming to the streets, why is that the case? Because we know damn well that it's not because they don't care or because their lives are chugging along great. They also ask, why do we constantly have or elect these kinds of horrible people as leaders?
But how do we end up with the worst of us in power? What's
Because
and I know it's a hard question. So
I feel like we brought this on ourselves. We chose. We saw that I don't.
Jerry, if you go to your phone
Mhm.
and you pick a random 100
Mhm.
contacts,
Mhm.
how many will be thieves or crooks or
Hardly
rapists or
any.
murderers?
If any, and if they are, it would be because I don't know how it would have.
It will be a very small percentage.
Yes, if
Same with
any.
me. Same with me. So who are these people in our cabinets, in our parliament? Yesterday we were here with James Marty said, I think 60 something
Mhm.
MPs
Mhm.
actually have active cases
Mhm.
of rape, murder, and that
Yes.
kind of thing. Who are these
And they
people?
will get away with it.
Who are these people? And why
And
are
they
they?
will get away with
Why are
it.
we electing them into power?
Power attracts that kind of venal person. It just does. Capitalism is a system that rewards the greediest person, the one willing to commit the most injustice, the one ready to do whatever it takes to get what they want. So obviously the worst people will rise to the top. That's how we constantly end up with the most wicked of us at the top. In closing, that statement, we brought this on ourselves, we did. Those in power do whatever they want without our consent, and that is the problem. Elections are merely performances. Kicking each other while we're down is not how we build solidarity. And building solidarity, organizing, should be our main focus right now. That's the only way we survive. The only way we survive this. To all the people who go to the streets, risking injury, incarceration, and worse, thank you for keeping democracy and the spirit of resistance alive. Viva la revolution.